I'm John Hogan. I'm president at NPC.
I'm Wade Derden. I'm the Vice President for Advancement and Government Relations.
Can you guys tell us about your connection to NBC and when your journey began?
I started at National Park Community College in July of 2014. Moved here from Indiana to take over from Sally Carter. So that was nine and a fraction years ago. So that's how it all started for me.
I started in the fall of 2011 as division chair for the Social Sciences Division. And 4 years later, I was hired to be the Vice President for Academic Affairs. And I served in that role until April of this year, when I changed to my current role in Advancement and Government Relations.
What do you think sets NPC apart from other campuses?
I like to think that it's the voice of students. That I've been to other places and we talk about students a lot. We didn't hear from students a lot. So I think that's the secret that National Park College has, and it's the foundation of our culture. So that leads into how we deal with one another and how we deal with faculty. The other thing that I think is very special about this college is I've never been anywhere where the community provides more support than they do here. So the residents of the county feel like this is their college. The board takes complete ownership of the college and they understand their role. Most people understand what the college does. So they understand we're significant and important in the community. And that helps us shoulder that responsibility more effectively. So we run that razor's edge between the voice of the students and the community's expectation.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think when you look at a lot of colleges and you look at their mission statements, they're a paragraph long. And ours is learning is our focus, student success is our goal. And it's easy to remember. It's easy to internalize, and I think this campus really embodies that mission, and that is reflected in everything we do, and I think the community sees that, and the students certainly, I believe, see that as well.
Little fun game we played. Can you describe NPC in 2 or 3 words?
Significant, special, excellent.
Let's see. Caring for sure. I think we're an optimistic group.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what challenges we face, we're pretty optimistic. And also entrepreneurial. We are constantly looking to the next sort of the future and what we can do. So
we're a bunch that never gives up.
That's right.
What changes have you guys witnessed over your time here?
Let me go first on that, because I would speak just specifically from my former role as Vice President of Academic Affairs. We saw the transition in my time from the original faculty to sort of the second generation of faculty. Mm-hmm. It was one of the things that I'm most proud of from being in that role, is because you realize how much you shape the culture of a campus. Mm-hmm. And I'm very proud of the faculty that we've hired in this generation, because I feel like they truly are an extension of that first generation that established the college. We had just a really strong faculty who cared about this college, who grew up with this college and grew this college, and they all retired within about a 5-year range of one another. There's still a few that are around, but most of them, 80% of them, retired. And that allowed myself and the academic team to really focus on what do we want the next generation of the campus to be like. And we put a lot of effort into those hires. And I really have a lot of pride about just what we did in terms of focusing on those faculty members.
I think that arguably is the most profound change I've seen. And under Dr. Derden's leadership, the there was a sea change in the personnel of faculty, but there was also a overhaul of our course offerings. There was a streamlining toward a degree, a shortening to the degree path to get the associate degrees to basically 60 hours. There were no bridges to nowhere sort of programmatic directions, which were common in community colleges throughout the last 45 or 50 years. And the quality of the faculty that came in enabled a foundation to be established, which enabled us to look at some other more creative changes. The most important sustainability decision a college can make is excellence in the classroom. And that's what under Dr. Derden's tenure, that's what we started with. That's what we built. It's never over. But I think that could be the most significant change I've seen, at least in the last 9+ years.
So how does the student experience change and what remains the same?
I think student life has arguably changed 180 degrees from where it was in 2014. There were student organizations. There was a lot of student life. We probably had more traditional age students than most community colleges did at that point. And there were a few very passionate people, including Melanie, who were trying to keep those student organizations going and make sure students got an experience outside the classroom that was significant. But then intramurals came along, and athletics, and the student commons, and student housing. The demographic we knew was going to change to more traditional age students. And these were the things they said. We want to be part of National Park College. We want more student life. We want athletics. We need 4-year degrees. Those were, I think, the student commons, just the layout of the student commons, integrating all of the services that touch the students, putting those into one place. They used to zigzag all over campus to get everything done. Those were all because we heard from students who had some vision about how the college could be better.
And you know, in the classroom, a lot's changed too, though, with technology. At least in our time, just partly because of the pandemic that we just lived through, just the use of online technology. The online coursework's been around for a long time, but just how much more integrated that became into our day-to-day lives. And then, of course, being able to have a virtual classroom, these things, really changed the way we teach. We had to learn to educate differently because of the pandemic.
And the faculty that you brought here were able to
That's right.
learn that technology. Many of them were early adopters even before we knew what a pandemic was, that a pandemic was in our future.
Yeah, we were ready for the pandemic. All of our faculty were trained for online courses when it hit. So I would say it was an easy transition, but we made it quickly and did the best. I would say we did much better and fared better than most colleges, even universities in the state did.
Have you guys been to an NBC athletic event? And if you have, what was it like?
I think the experience of the first time I was at a basketball game, when the baseball players filled the stands, I knew that the climate here was going to be very special for athletics. So I think it's important for me to make sure the students know that we're supporting that. And athletics is a way to be seen and make sure that they know they're not just getting support from their coaches and from Mark and from others. So I've been to each type of event more than once. I will say that Melanie and Mark and others, Rich, the coaches, one of the ways that our programs our athletic program is set apart is the way that we focus on the aspirations of each of the athletes. So we promote them from the start. Mark interviews them. He asks them how they found us. He asks them where they're headed. I attended an event here Saturday where our coaches are brought in university coaches to promote the student athletes. What that does is that's an investment in student success. That makes them more likely to graduate. It strengthens the fabric of the entire completion equation. And it's how could you have a better experience as a student athlete to be promoted any more than we do. So we've done very well with athletics.
So is there any faculty or staff members that had a big impact on you, from your time here?
One of our faculty members, when I first started, and I was an outsider coming into a new campus, and I took over social science department leadership, and Martin White was our criminal justice faculty member at the time, and he passed away a couple of years ago. He was former chief of police here in Hot Springs, and everybody called him Chief White. And he was so kind to me, he knew I was trying to learn everything. He looked out for me. Every day I would get there before anybody else except for him. And he always would just say, "How are you doing today?" And just check on me. And he made me feel at home and at ease, at a new school. And I always appreciated that. And we remained close throughout the remainder of his career. So definitely Chief White. And also along the same lines, I mean, there's so many faculty that have had an impact on me. I guess just because I got to be here during that transition between that first generation and second generation, a lot of wisdom flowing from a lot of great people, and a lot of kindness and generosity. So
it struck me being here that there was just that tenor of kindness, that we treated each other really well. The community treated us well. A lot of optimism, a lot of confidence in what the college was doing, and it was never difficult to find support.
So what do you all hope to see for the future of NPC students?
One of the things I've learned from Dr. Hogan is if you're listening to students, it's hard to go wrong. And I think we do a pretty good job of that. We put a lot of effort into listening to our students, and I think they know that. But if I think about our students, and if I think about what I want for them, I want them to come here and gain confidence so that whatever the next stage of their life is, they have the toolkit they need to be successful. They have the knowledge they need, but most importantly, they have the confidence in what they've learned here, and even beyond just what's in the classroom. Just that sense of confidence, I think, will guide them into the future. And I think we do a pretty good job supporting students and trying to get them there, because going to school is hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary. I remember when I went to school, that first year in particular is, you're away from home, you're away from all the things you've known. It's difficult. And you're growing up. And if you're talking about a traditional student, if you're a non-traditional student, just the sacrifices you're having to make, potentially go to school, it's hard. And so I think we try very, very hard on our campus to recognize that with our students and help give them the confidence to move forward.
I think the keeping our ear close and continuing to be disciplined and diligent about listening to them, continuing to be resourceful about finding ways to meet their needs that help them to become more successful and also meet their aspirations, continue to be much less of what somebody else thinks a community college ought to be and much more of what NPC needs to continue to become, and just be better tomorrow than yesterday.
What is your most earliest memory of the college?
I had never heard of the college until I made application to be its fourth president. I was in a midst of a job search and was about ready to wrap up for the night. And it came across in my email. I think the deadline had passed actually for application. And I reached out and asked if it was too late. And I was told, no, well, it's not too late. We'll accept your credentials. And at that point, just started to do research and started to see the photographs and study the curriculum and so forth. But it was the photographs didn't do it justice by any stretch. Just the learning environment that was here, the natural beauty of where the campus is located. It's hard to think about how we might have improved on that, but that was my earliest memory and conversation.
Yeah, I'd never been to the campus before until I interviewed in 2011 for the position. And I remember coming to campus, and it was summer, and just thinking, it was such a stark difference from where I was at, which was an urban school, and but it was so beautiful, and I just thought, wow, this is nice, and it didn't seem as hectic somehow. A little more relaxed. People were more relaxed. I remember that distinctly, and I liked that. But I knew of the college before because I had met Sally Carter, Dr. Carter, the former president, at the legislature a couple of years before that. And she was, part of my job when I was working in the legislature was to prep all the presidents and chancellors. Whenever we were in session, we had a different president and chancellor at the legislature every day. And part of my job was to have talking points for them, update them on what was going on. And Sally was always one of my favorites because she was so funny and she had so much personality. And she'd just grab me, just come on, we're going down here and talk to this person. And she knew her way around the Capitol, and everybody knew her, and she was boisterous. And I just thought, when the position came open at National Park Community College, I thought, yeah, okay, I'm going to apply to that. I think Sally would be someone fun to work for. So I have no regrets.
What does it mean for NPC to be turning 50, and what does it say? What does it mean to you, and what does it say for the college to be turning 50?
Certainly, it's worthy of celebrating. It's a testament to our value and importance to the community. Arguably, we're the most significant hope for economic development for Garland County and for this region of the state. I think the community's response to the event in October is an indicator of that they're excited, they're interested, they feel invested in our success and proud of what they've contributed up to this point.
I find myself, instead of reflecting on the past, I spend most of my time thinking about, the future and what 50 years from now, when people maybe look back at this video, what they think of some of this. And I even at one point was thinking, how are we storing all this? Are we storing it on a technology that people have access to 50 years from now? I mean, just because even just last week we were looking for the college seal, and we found every seal that from the last 50 years in a box, except for the one we needed, I think. And I found all these discs and floppy disks and all this stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to be like 50 years from now? I mean, we have all these records and student files that are still on paper from 1973. And I just think, will those still be in this cabinet 50 years from now? So I find myself always thinking about things like that, which is funny because I'm trained to be a historian. I guess I should be reflecting on the past more than I am, but I find myself thinking about what's coming next more than anything else.
Do you have any funny or interesting stories you'd like to share that are kind of off topic, but just in regard to the college?
I mean, every cabinet meeting is funny because John likes puns. And so regardless of the topic of the day,
Everybody likes puns.
it'll get punny.
I just help with that.
I don't know. We were talking about eclipses today, and you know that
Yesterday.
conversation,
That was
yesterday,
yeah.
that conversation got shady.
Yep. Yep. Got dark in a hurry.
So
Yeah.
it's something like that all the time. We have a lot of fun.
It's okay to have fun at work. I don't know if you'll find this funny or not, but one day I'm going to talk about all the things that happened to me at commencement. But I remember the first student athlete I remember crossing the stage was Braylon Steen. And Braylon Steen's name was called, and he did a cartwheel. Now, Braylon is about 6'5", and so a 6'5" man doing a cartwheel takes up a lot of room on the stage. And I thought, but he did it perfectly. He came over and hugged me and got his diploma. And I'll never forget Braylon doing that. I had another student who also happened to be a student athlete who got his diploma from the board chair. And I reached out my hand to shake his hand. And when I did, he enveloped me into a bear hug, almost took my breath away. And he told me that he loved me. And that was what he really loved, was his experience here at NPC. Lots of other kinds of interesting things have happened on the stage. People will say, "Hey, Prez," or they'll want to bump fists, or they'll ask me interesting questions and see if they can get a reaction from me. So most people take it very seriously. Many people do not, but we do not get flustered during commencement.
No, we carry on. Dr. Hogan allowed a mule in our gym once.
Had a meal in the gym.
We had a deer run through the library. I don't know if anybody's told you that story or not, but it first came through to the social science building and the automatic door didn't open for it because it was running so fast. So it kind of turned around and took off and burst into the library and ran around through the library a while before they got it to exit. So I don't know if that's funny or not, but it was unique, a unique experience for sure. The pandemic is something that was so central to us in our generation in this time, and who knows what it will be in the future. But for us, it was such a pivotal moment, and we had our graduations in cars, and I don't know if any of that will carry forward in the future. But there was one graduation in particular where we had family groups in their cars, and they drove up to a certain point, and Dr. Hogan handed a diploma through a window, and then they drove off, and they had their cars decorated.
Wearing a plastic glove.
You had to have gloves on. I mean, just the restrictions and things that we lived through, but how we still made it work.
Mm-hmm.
We were determined.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't going to just do it virtually. We wanted students to have that experience. And of course, not every student participated. It was a smaller group, but I think we still had about 80 students or so that did that. And the nursing students did something similar that year as well. They had their ceremony, their pinning ceremony in cars where the nurses were masked up and they pinned them through the windshield. I think that is emblematic of who we are as a college, making things. We're going to make things happen. We make things happen.
We have folks here who had to organize a whole different way of interacting with incoming students, with masking and taking temperatures and testing or not testing. Some of that was mandated and some of it was our own conscience. But I do not want to repeat that
Me either.
kind of a period of time. But very, very proud of the work that this team did to make sure students could carry on. And if we can get through that, we can get through about anything.